You know what I like to do in my spare time? Debunk lies against Fidel Castro. Here's a good example of that right now. Canada's media, both the Liberal and the Conservative, are screaming that Fidel Castro has attacked Canada. The Grandma article in which he spoke about Canada's human rights legacy in Latin America when it comes to mining, and the fact that Canada has not taken a stance on the Falklands Island incident. An important point, a stance by Canada does need to be made. Now, what I'm going to do is debunk both the liberal accusations against him and the conservative accusations against him, while acknowledging that conservatives always say that liberals are defending them. First, I'm going to debunk the Toronto Sun, which is always very easy, and then I'm going to debunk the Toronto Star. So let's get started with the Toronto Sun. Calls out Harper and Canada for not taking sides in the thorny issue of the Falklands Island dispute. Well, it is an important issue and one that the country is not speaking about. The Prime Minister does need to come out and say which side Canada is on, which is not really a problem, seeing as how Sun readers don't know what that is anyway. Here's the next one. Castro also takes issue with Canadian mining activities in Latin America. Well, according to many human rights groups, Canada is one of the worst countries in the world for human rights when it comes to mining. And in fact, when it comes to international mining, Canada has been rated as the worst for the environment in the entire world. Well, it's nice that Canada, that we can finally be better than America in something, and that's screwing up the planet through mining. Sources to everything are in the description. Go ahead and check. Now here's their next criticism. Castro also raised concern over Canada's membership in the Organization of American States, noting Queen Elizabeth is the head of state and it's not clear whether Canada's a colony, a republic, or a monarchy. Well, actually, what Castro was describing was the legal definition of what Canada is, seeing as how Stephen Harper is not the head of state. It is the actual Queen, and that our status is actually a colony, and whether as a colony of a European country we actually qualify to be in the Organization of American States. Here's what Castro actually said. In May 1948, the year that witnessed the foundation of the OAS, Canada was far removed from belonging to it. It kept the same status for more than 40 years until 1990. The OAS is supposed to be a regional organization made up by the sovereign states of this hemisphere. Such an assertion, like many others which are made every day, involves a great number of lies. The least we can do is to be aware of them, if we are to preserve the spirit of the struggle of our competence in a more decent world. The OAS is supposed to be a pan-American organization. Any country in Europe, Africa, Asia, or Oceania could not belong to the OAS just because it has a colony here, as it is the case of France and Guadeloupe, or the Netherlands and Curacao. Sorry, I pronounced that wrong. But British colonialism could not define the status of Canada, and will explain whether it was a colony, a republic, or a kingdom. The head of the state of Canada is Queen Elizabeth II, although she vests her powers in a Governor-General appointed by her. Therefore, we could ask whether the United Kingdom is also part of the OAS. What he is saying is that Canada might not actually count because Canada is part of a European monarchy. His question here is why Canada, being a European monarchy, counts, but Cuba is banned from being at the conference, of being at the collection of the Organization of American States, because the U.S. doesn't want them there because of their petty hatred towards them. Now, if that's not confusing enough, they then go on to accuse Castro of stealing a style of shirt. In the meandering essay, he mocks the fact U.S. President Barack Obama could wear a guayabera, I guess, a men's shirt worn in Latin America that Cuba claims as its own to the summit. Actually, Castro was quoting the media when he spoke. Here is the actual quote from Castro in the Grandma newspaper. The guayabera shirts worn by Obama in the Cartagena has become one of the main issues covered by the news agencies. Edgar Gomez has designed one of the U.S. President Barack Obama, who will be wearing it during the Summit of the Americas, said the daughter of the designer, who added, "It is a white, sober guayabera with the handiwork that is more striking than usual." Immediately after, the news agency added that the Caribbean shirt was first made on the banks of the Yayebo River in Cuba. That is why they were originally called yayaberas. The curious thing about this, dear readers, is that Cuba has been forbidden to attend the meeting, but not the guayaberas, who could contain their laughter. Now, with that taken care of, I'm going to move on to the Toronto Star, the liberal side that attacked him. Now, for the purposes of brevity, I'm not going to go over the same points that the Sun already made. I'm going to skip right to the ones made by the liberals. This is where they accused Castro of not knowing Prime Minister Stephen Harper's name. In a column that appeared Monday in the Granma official organ of the Communist Party, the island's former ruler says he believes the Prime Minister goes by the name Stephen Harper, but it's hard to be sure. In other words, Stephen who? Now, here's what Castro actually said. I think, and I do not intend to offend anyone, that this is how one refers to the Prime Minister of Canada. I deduced it from a statement published on Holy Wednesday by a spokesperson for the Foreign Ministry of that country. The United Nations Organization membership is made up of almost 200 states, allegedly independent states. What Castro was questioning is the leader of the nation. Stephen Harper technically isn't the leader of the nation. The Queen actually is. And that's what he was questioning. He wasn't saying, who is Stephen Harper? He was questioning who the leadership of the country actually belongs to. But take him, just misquote him, take him out of context, and make it into something else. Now, the thing is, Toronto Star, Toronto Sun, we have the internet. We can go and see the Grandma newspaper and see what Castro actually wrote. Now, when you lie like this, we can easily go and check and see that you're lying. Now, I always like to remind at this part that despite the adamant claims of the right wing, liberals don't defend Castro. They attack him too, as I just demonstrated perfectly. But they'll ignore that and continue to go on and say liberals defend him, even though they don't. You know what? You're both pwned.